How can we be heard when we're wearing something that is obstructing our mouth? Thoughts?
Great. Yeah, I have very specific thoughts about that. The first thing I'll share in relationship to this as I go to share my two thoughts on this very specific example is you say people hire actors to help with all of this. It's because we're trained. So the way that I communicate, the way that I express myself did not happen by accident. I am not somebody that just has this natural way of being. It is a very studied, intentional process of building habits around expression, right? So I have a very clear voice practice. I have a very clear speech practice. I have a very clear way of analyzing scripts that I can attack it with a sense of objectivity and purpose. So all of that is learned behavior. So I want to say, first of all, that any of the tools, any of the practices that you are open to exploring, that you're currently exploring, that you might be embarking on exploring, it's all about practice ultimately, and it's skill building. It will not happen because of your good intentions. It takes consistency, intentionality, because the practice is the key. It literally is the art of practice. So that's the first thing I'll say as I set up this idea. So when we're talking about the masks that are covering your face, we're losing a couple of things there. So first of all, when we're talking about receiving communication, 93% of what we receive is nonverbal. So we're talking about facial expressiveness and vocal expressiveness in this case. Now, when we limit our nonverbal information, which is our mouth, we're limiting a few different things, but mostly what we're limiting is the ability to see the articulation mechanism at work. So to be able to not only hear the words, but to also read them as they're happening. Now, because we're missing that huge piece of nonverbal information, we as the speaker need to be more attentive to integrating that in an intentional way. What that means is really being very conscientious about nailing your consonant sounds. And I know that sounds very particular. All that ultimately means is enunciate. Get clear. Here's why.
Right.
So vowels are our emotional sounds. Ooh, ah, right? There are emotional sounds. Consonants are our structure. So they provide structure and containers for those vowels. So as I'm speaking, if I'm already prone to mumbling, it's going to be even more exacerbated through that mask. But now if I really put a heightened intention into really clarifying the articulation of my consonant sounds, it will allow for a clarity of structure, and thereby what's received on the other side of that mask will have a greater likelihood of being heard in the exact words. So there's no delay of interpretation. Now, the second piece of that, which is an extension, this is getting very technical, but I think it's important. The piece of that that's an extension there is vocal presence. So the more vocally present you are, the more you'll now be able to reach your speaker. So it's similar to when we're talking on Zoom. I'm not just talking to my camera, I have to talk through my camera. Similarly, I'm not just talking at my mask, I have to speak through my mask. And I have to think about meeting the person with my voice. Because voice is what we hear, vibration is what we create. So if we think about what we're actually creating as something substantive, I can now meet my listener with something that's tangible. So I have to think about actually reaching them with that substantive quality of expression of thought. So if I'm committed to the consonant or articulation of my thoughts, the voice will follow suit. The vocal presence will be there inherently. And then everything will be able to extend beyond the mask with a sense of clarity. So it's not only the mumbling, it's also the vocal presence. So heightening articulation and speaking with a little bit greater sense of purpose.